You're listening to the Shoot Your Shot podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jen, and we are two boss babes sharing our journey and inspiring you along the way.
Yes, I'm a wedding photographer and videographer, and Jen is a mobile bartender. And today we're talking about business growth and how to implement new ideas into your business to keep it growing, keep it shining, keep that money coming.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
take it away.
Awesome. Well, first I have to say I actually had a nice little relaxing weekend this weekend. I only had one event. I did it by myself. It was only like 30 people. And it was just like
That's
nice.
small. That's cute. That's fun.
Yeah. I don't have many of those anymore. So it's like when I do have them, it was a 50th surprise party, really low key, but it was also like 92 degrees and humid.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really hot, but it was awesome. And then like during the day Saturday, I was like with the kids. It was nice.
That's nice.
So it was a nice weekend. How was your weekend?
Pet sitting. I've been pet sitting a lot.
Yes.
So yeah, but it was really hot. There was this one dog I was sitting for that does a walk like every day, like a 45-minute walk. And we had to make it like a 20-minute walk because he's older too. He's like 7 or 8. Oh. Not that old, but old enough where like he was trailing behind me a little bit and was like so cute. So yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, just editing. I haven't shot anything new in like a week or so. So it's kind of nice to play catch up. But yeah, here we are, August.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
So crazy. Tomorrow is August 1st, and it's like we were just talking about how fall is almost here, and Megan's planning another trip in the winter, and she's already planning it. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like,
Can't believe it.
Busy season goes by so fast. It's like a blink of an eye, but you like stress yourself out up to it, and then you're in it, and you're like, oh my gosh, like we're halfway through our busy season already.
Yeah, like
right?
My busiest months, June and October.
Yeah.
And so to be like, wow, June is already over now. We're into August.
Yeah.
August, I don't have a lot. So then before I know it, it's going to be like October again because I'm going to be stressing myself out looking forward to October. Yeah. And then October will be over. And then I'm going to be like, it's just so crazy because like, I mean, this is our third season into weddings and events, so we kind of have been around the block a little bit, but now I feel like at least I'm at the point where I'm shooting so consistently for my own business, not for other people's businesses, that I have a full-time workload with my own work, not just helping other people out. And so it's just going by 10 times faster that way because there's so much more to plan and so much more to stress over and think about that time just kind of really passes you by. So that goes into growth though too. So growing your own business, seeing where you want it to be from, day one. And that was one of my plans from day one, was to be able to do this full time and have my own workload. And I finally kind of accomplished that. And so now I'm looking forward to my other goals and my other dreams, which is now video. And that was something that I was thinking about last year a lot and then booked in advance for this year. So I'm growing as I'm kind of like tapering off in my first goal and then, reaching my other goals. So I have other things in the back burner as well and some other things that have already started a little bit that, I'm hoping for more growth next year and we'll get into it. But what's your like first tip? What's like the first thing that you want to say?
Well, I love that you kind of just like summed it up as you never stop growing in your business. And you have to continue to, I think if you're an entrepreneur, you're similar to us where you have to have like the next thing.
Yes.
And there has to be something that is exciting you. 2 things that excite me. 1, I always have a vacation planned, whether it's like booked or just in my head that it's going to happen or something, because I need something to look forward to. Yeah. And it can be like a drivable vacation. It can be something, but it just has to, in my mind, it has to be considered a vacation because I need something to look forward to.
And something different too.
Something different. Yep.
That's big with me. Change. Yeah. I don't know if that's just the entrepreneurship like mindset or whatever it is, but I feel like I've always been that way where like after a year or 2 of doing something consistently, I'm like, I need change. I need something else. I need something new. But I think that's what I love about this business.
Me too.
You can control that.
Yep. 100%. And, and I love how you said you like kind of, after 3 seasons, we've kind of like got a good understanding of our businesses. And now we can see where we want the business to go. Like I always, after my first season, I always wanted a second trailer. got the second trailer. Now I'm like still figuring out the second trailer aspect of everything. But now I see another level of growth in my business because I did a few events with a trailer. I have an understanding. Now I know that I can hire staff to work those events and I can now do something else with my business.
Yep.
So, one thing for me that I'm going to talk about today that I have been kind of like dabbling in is coaching for this business. And I know that it's something you're going to talk about as well, but I have found a sense of joy and pride and fulfillment in coaching. It's funny, I actually haven't done it in a while because I haven't really promoted myself about it. And that's a thing with business. If you're not promoting it, nobody's going to know that you're doing it. So I haven't talked about it lately because I'm just so busy with the actual business. I usually do it in off season as another stream of income. But I randomly got 2 requests the other day. So last Friday I had 2 coaching calls.
That's awesome.
And it just reminded me, we do an hour. This actually one mobile bar hired me for an hour and a half because she was just like, I have so many questions to ask you. And it was her, I think, 3rd time of us chatting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's nice to see that, it's what I'm doing is paying off because people want to rebook.
Yep.
And, that's another stream of income for me. And, in this business, I do work a lot of weekends, as you do too. So that's always something, in 5 years, do I still want to be working every weekend or do I want to see the business go in a different direction? So I think that that's the mindset that you have to have with growth of any business is where do you see yourself in 3 years? And then where do you see yourself in 5 years? Yep. And it's funny because that was like always a thing in corporate that they would ask me. And I was like, it would be like the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Like my ADHD like kicks in and I'm like, I don't know. But it's true. Like you really do have to, even if it's not what's really going to happen, you have to have that idea of where do I see myself going in 3 years? Where do I see my business going? Do I want to do what I'm doing right now in 3 years?
Yep.
If not, okay, let's reevaluate and let's see how you want to make the changes to make it better.
Yep. You always got to be thinking about what's next. And yeah, if there are changes, that's cool too. Or if you have totally different directions that you want to take something in, that's fine. So for me, like my 3-year, 5-year plan, like I have no clue what that's going to look like. Am I going to be in Connecticut? I don't know. Am I going to be somewhere else in New England? Maybe. I don't know.
Are you going to be in Alaska?
I could be. So thinking about those different like ways that your life could go, those different paths, like I have kind of like a plan in the back of my head that's like, oh, if I did decide to move here, this might be a good idea in this area, or this might be a cool idea to do based on like the people here. So yeah, always thinking about what's next is huge for your business. Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps you inspired. And I think that as a small bit, we are not small businesses anymore. We are big businesses. But as a business owner, you can get bored very easily, especially if you have ADHD, ADD, whatever it is, and your mind is just going 24/7. You need to like reel yourself back in and be like, okay, these are the actions that I'm going to take to get to where I want to get.
Yep.
But I'm going to talk about some things that I feel that in 3 years I have found that I have done that has grown my business and in different ways, but it's all at the end of the day been a part of the business. So obviously I have the mobile bar. I have the horse trailer. And when I first started, I was not doing any events without the trailer. It was just the trailer. That was my business. And then I saw that I needed to, in the winter months where the trailer doesn't really work, if I wanted to do bartending still and kind of keep it going, I built a smaller bar where I could do indoor events. So that was another stream of income for me to do events that maybe the trailer didn't fit.
Christmas parties.
Like, yep, exactly. And then I realized in the very, dead of winter where people really aren't even hosting events, what could I do? So I started coaching. I also saw that a lot of people, and one thing when you're in business, and I think that you can talk about this when you get into your coaching aspect of it, if people are asking you questions on a certain thing you're doing, that means you're doing something right and people want to hear from you and they want to know from you. So a lot of people were asking me about my social media and how I grew quickly. And
oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah. So, and at first I was like, oh, I just love posting reels and I just really enjoy posting on social media. And it's probably something that I would never outsource because I enjoy doing it. It doesn't take me a long time. It's something I can quickly do. And then I kind of thought about it and I'm like, a lot of people are asking me about this. So I started doing Zoom calls and I would do a training on social media and it would not be just reels. It would be like how to grow your social media authentically and how to find your clientele on social media, because I found that I was getting so many leads from social media and I wanted to share that with other people because a lot of people were like, I don't get a lot of leads from social media. And I'm like, well, here are ways that you can change that. And that was a great form. I think I did 4 Zoom calls. One of them had 30 people on it, and that's big. It's 30 people taking an hour out of their time and paying to come onto your Zoom call. So that was a great form for me. And then the second trailer came along, and that was, something that I always wanted, and I wanted to be another income. And then I created events because I did a bridal show and I absolutely hated it, and it was horrible, and it was not what I envisioned a bridal show being. And again, it was one bridal show. I can't say they're all like this, but it was just not the one for me.
Right.
So Devin, with All Set Up, an event planner, and I created these events called The Big Event. And we are now looking forward to doing multiple of them a year and collaborating with other businesses. And it still takes on a portion of my business because I am promoting my brand. I'm getting other businesses involved in the community and helping them and inspiring them. And it's just brought another form of like fulfillment to me.
Yeah. It's also kind of a way of you to be like a mentor for somebody too, because to have a room full of, how many vendors did you have last time? 40?
Yeah, we had
something?
over 40. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a room of 40 vendors that look up to you and are like thanking you for letting them network in a safe space. So it's a networking event, but it's also like kind of a mentor moment for you.
Yeah. And it's funny because my word this year, and once I started this business, I kind of learned that to have a fun word each year. Like one year was motivate, one year was, I don't remember, but this year was inspire. And I felt like I posted something the other day on my social media, and I don't remember. Oh, I posted how like rewarding this business has been for me and my family, and how I get to wake up and do something I love every single day and get so much fulfillment and reward out of it. And I shared like a little video about that, and so many mobile bars, not even just mobile bars, but primarily mobile bars, sent me messages that I inspired them to start their business, and I inspired them to start a mobile bar. And I'm like, really? Like, it just made me feel so like heartwarming.
Yeah.
And that's what helps on those hard days.
Wow.
When it's like,
I'm getting like goosebumps. Yeah. Like, that's so sweet. I love that.
No, it was awesome because I truly like doing that. And I could see myself doing more coaching down the road.
Yeah.
And maybe see the actual trailers go in a different direction. And not that I don't think I would sell them within the next few years, but, have the girls work them and I just drop them off. Like, that was my goal in the beginning, to have that be the long-term plan. And then I can help coach new mobile bars coming into the industry. So I just think that you should always be thinking of a next step in your business and always how you can grow your business, but still have it be the same platform in a way.
Yep. Have it be related to, but not the same thing. So instead of like your clientele being people booking you for your service, it's other vendors and other people that want to learn from you. It's a totally different person to market to and a different way to make money. And for photography, that's something that I really want to get into or consider at least. A bunch of reasons, but one reason off of what I was just kind of saying is that with the clientele being brides and couples and events and, sessions, that has a whole different kind of workload with, 25% of my work is, or probably like 10% of my work is the booking process. And then like, I'm bad at math, so it's probably not going to add up to 100.
Don't ask me.
25 is like shooting. And then the other like, what is it? 65 or whatever is like editing. I feel like the majority of the work as a photographer is after the job is done, basically. Like when the job's over, the job's not over. So to be doing...
Can you actually speak on that for 1 second? Because, sorry, not to interrupt you, but I keep seeing a lot of things where people are like, you get the haters that say, oh, you just like snap a button.
Yeah.
And can you just like elaborate on like what really goes into the aftermath of your actual event?
Yeah, well, the photos that you take, I don't even know how to even get this started. So when you take photos, you can either shoot them in RAW or JPEG. And so JPEG is like what your iPhone takes pictures with, or like a regular point and shoot, whatever. Our cameras can do that too, but it's just a more high quality format of a photo. And so it edits better. There's more control over what you can shoot. So if you underexpose, like if I'm taking a picture of a couple during sunset, I'm going to expose it for the sky, and the couple is going to be like basically black. And so if I were to give you that raw photo, you'd be like, wow, you're a horrible photographer. So then me going home and editing it and putting it in the computer, I'm able to brighten up my subjects, the two people standing, to actually be exposed, and so you can see them, but then you can also see the sky. So there's a lot that goes into it with the editing that is so unseen, because you're not going to get that original photo that's like 50% of my work. You're going to get the 100% where it's polished and it looks nice, and you can actually see where the intention was in my brain, because sometimes we'll take pictures of something and you're like, this is weird, but it's all in the editing. Like it's all in the cropping. It's all in, changing the focus. Like I can sometimes tweak the focus a little bit in the editing, and like if something's off, so there's literally so much. Like every hour that I'm shooting is like another 2 hours that I'm editing. Yep. So to put that into perspective, or more, for like an 8-hour wedding day, I'm going home and I'm doing 16 or 20 more hours worth of work for you. So it's just something that you don't see, but photography is an art. It's not just a service. And the artistic part of it is like the way that you shoot, what you decide to shoot, like the settings that you're using, like if your background's fuzzy or if it's all in focus. And then when you go home to edit, all of the color grading and the way that you decide to crop things and the effects that you use and anything you do in Photoshop, like all of that is art. It's not just, documentation and what you see is what you get. Like we're creating art for you. It's just not live. You just don't get to see it. So
I love that. And not to go into tangent, because I know we're talking about growth this episode, but someone asked me recently if I had any insights on event planning pricing, because they realize how much work goes into event planning and how much time and labor and back end, and it's not just the day of, and you are on your feet for 10 hours plus 12 sometimes. And I didn't have the pricing knowledge, but I explained to her, I was like, you just said it yourself. You are worth more because of all the work that goes into before the day, after the day, during the day. So I think you just, as a business owner, and again, we're getting off topic, but I think you need to remind yourself that it is not just you at the actual event. You need to remember all the work prior and all of that. So sorry, that was a little tangent, but it just happened to me today. So I wanted to spiral off of that.
No, there's we could talk about that a whole episode another day.
Yeah,
is
I
like
really do.
Pricing and what goes into your business. That's a great episode. We should do that.
We're gonna do that. Yeah.
Next one.
But I also want to talk about, like, if you feel, so Megan and I are into our 3rd season, so we have about a solid 2 years under our belt. And I think that we have both really grown our businesses to what we, again, I'm going to preference what we think we wanted them to be. I think we always, as just who we are, we always think we can do better than what we're doing, but that's what makes us so good in this business.
Yeah.
But I think that we have done a really great job of growing our business to what we want it to be. But I think, if you're not growing, your business is not growing either. And I think that you need to continue to always just keep going. I think that that's kind of what it is. Do you want to talk about what you've added to your business recently?
Sure. Yeah. So video, as I mentioned before, I love both is storytelling. So they do go very well hand in hand, and I'm using the same equipment and everything, but they are two totally different things. But it is a way for me to, as a business standpoint, double my money in one day. So with you, or more, depending on how good I get at it in the future, because it is worth more than photography is price-wise, but I'm not quite there yet. But with you, like, you have your second trailer, you can do 2 weddings in one day and double your money, basically. And for me, the obvious answer for that would be to have associate shooters. So a lot of photographers branch out, and I don't want to say franchise isn't the right word, but they have associate shooters where they can cover multiple events on the same day, and just that one photographer edits it within their company. So I would have a friend go shoot a wedding for me. They would not be their clients. They would be like a ghost photographer basically, and then they would give me back those raw photos and I would edit them. So they would be in my own style and they would get all the same inclusions in their package that I would give if I were the one shooting it. So an engagement session, an album, same digital gallery or USB, whatever. So all of that kind of stuff. That's the obvious answer. But like I just said, so much of photography and the art of it is personalized with the way that you shoot, not just the way that you edit. So I don't know if I personally would want to go that way, just because I have such like a touch on it that I want to be doing it. Like if I'm going to have my name on it, I want it to actually be mine. So we'll see how I feel about that in the future. But
I'm going to interrupt on this because I love this. And this was something that I had to very quickly learn in my business. And I hired a business coach. And one of the questions I said to her when I was thinking about doing my second trailer was like, how do I let go? I'm such a control freak. And we've talked about this in so many episodes. But
are you going to try to change my mind right now?
Yes and no. I think photography does have a different personal touch. I totally agree with that. However, you have seen other businesses be successful doing it the other way, but it's what you want to put on your business. If your heart is not in expanding that area, then you're not going to be successful. Just fun fact, Megan and I were talking about this before. Here goes my spiral, but I bought a bounce house for my kids, and my entrepreneurship mindset was like, oh my God, how can I get my money back? How can I resell this? And I can rent it, and my husband can drop it off and set it up. And I'm like, another form of income. Like, here we go. We got this. I created like a format plate, all these things. I set up the bounce house once, put water in it, had to dry it off, had to clean it. I was like, yeah, my heart and soul is not into this. So I feel like my rant about that very quickly was, if your heart and soul is not into expanding that way, then you're not. My heart and soul was into expanding the way that I wanted to. And so I asked this woman, I said, how do I like let go of the control in my business where I have to be the face? And she did two things. One, she had this like crown, like tiara. Yeah. Is that
yeah.
Oh my God, I haven't said that word in so long. And I have a daughter, so I should probably know this. But she puts her tiara on and she's like, you need to put your CEO crown on. And I was like, you are so right. Just right there. That one little comment. I was like, damn, you're right. But that's what's hard. And then I go back to my hospitality years. I worked for Hyatt Hotels. If the CEO of Hyatt was at every single property that he owned, he would never, or it's a family, that family would never be where they are today. Do I want to get as big as Hyatt? I don't know, maybe. But I knew that if I wanted to see my business grow, I had to let go of the control. And the other aspect of that was I needed to find the right people. And that's the hardest part in this business, is finding the right employees and the right people that you can let go and have them. And I mentioned this recently, but I took my bartender girls out. We did a boat cruise. We went to lunch. We partied all day, which I was hungover for about a week.
Oh my God.
Literally a week. I'm not kidding. I'm too old for that. Rosé all day. Don't ever do that, because oh my God, it was so bad. Anyway, we had so much fun. And the comments that I got from them were exactly what I needed to hear. They were like, Jen, we love you, we support you, and we want to see you succeed. And right there was like, I did it. Like
you're doing the right thing.
I'm doing the right thing. I found my people. They know how I like the trailer set up. They know how to break it down. They can do everything now.
And you're creating opportunities for somebody else. Like that's a great work environment for somebody else, where maybe they want to get something started and they want to see how you work, and they're going to be the best employee for you to have. So
and I said to them, I go, if you get a piece of booking, I will give you a percentage. If you like find that client and you want to book something and you can work it, you could work it at the trailer, I will give you a percentage of that piece of business. So it's like them earning more income too. And one of my other bartenders, she wants to start a cake company. She is an amazing cake designer. And we had a whole conversation that Sunday that we went out, and I was like, I'm not going to say her name, but I'm like, you need to do this. Like, she showed me her work. I'm like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you start this business. You are going to do this.
Yeah.
You're going to start it. And right now she's a stay-at-home mom, and she's like, I think she was like, I want more. And I was like, you need to do this. We're going to do it. I'm going to help you. We're going to do it together. And I think she is, which is amazing. But she would have never done that if she didn't see me succeed in my business.
A little bit of motivation.
It's the motivation. And I think that we always talk about, like, we want to inspire other people, but if we're not doing it, how are we going to inspire someone else to do it?
Right.
So that was my tangent.
That's where I want to get into the consultation and the mentorships a little bit with that too. Cause like I love photography and I'm happy with it and I love it. It's fantastic. But I feel like I'm leaning towards video a little bit more, just solely because I'm more of a fly on the wall that way than I am with photography. I love like documentary style photography and like, you know, walking around taking pictures of everything that's going on and not always taking pictures of like staged, like this is what we have to do. Like I feel like I don't take breaks very often, if that makes sense. I don't take pictures of what I have to take pictures of. Like I feel like I'm moving a lot more. But then we get to parts of the day where I really do have to be that person and like, okay, everybody, we're taking the family photos now. Okay, Papa, Grandma, you know, like organizing that. That's the stuff that I hate. Like I do not like that part about my business. If there's one thing I could change, it would be that. But some of those are like the most important photos
Wait, I have to
of
ask,
the day. So
how are you with the groomsmen?
It's fine. See, those are some of the photos that I don't love. Like I like the I like documenting it and just being there, but to be like, okay, everybody line up and walk towards me and unbutton your jacket. It's this exact same thing with the bridesmaids. It's not because they're guys. It's just getting a crowd together and like putting together some kind of staged photo where they're like walking down a hill or something. It's just kind of like ick. Like it just kind of gives me the ick. I just don't really want to do it. But I do come up with some creative ways to try to make it a little bit more candid, a little bit more exciting, like give them a prompt and an activity to do versus like stand here and look pretty. But still, it's like I love photography so much, but those are parts of the day where I'm like, ugh, can't wait for this to be over. So, but I know how to do it, and I do kind of like doing that stuff, not as much. There are other parts of the day I like more, but that is something that I do have experience with that I could teach somebody how to do. And there could be somebody out there that is better at that than me and likes that more than me. And I do have the knowledge to tell them like, oh, if you can't get the groomsmen to cooperate, like here are my tips. Like stuff like that could be so valuable to somebody that's just getting started into it. So I don't know. It would be nice to be that person. And I like helping people out too. And I try to share tips as much as I can. And if people reach out to me, I try to be as helpful and give them referrals and like communicate and like network them with my other friends. And that's just such a huge thing that I feel like is really important that people did for me when I was getting started. And it's so valuable. So I think maybe expanding on that and not just doing that as a friend and out of the kindness of my heart, but to also go more in depth and to create like a course and show them how to expose their photos and what settings mean what and how they interact with each other, and a posing guide and an editing guide, and showing them like start to finish how I like book a client, shoot the client and edit the client and deliver it. Like I feel like I could go very in depth with some kind of consultation. So
I learned very quickly. Yeah, I learned very quickly when I was two things. One, I did the cringy reaching out to other mobile bars when I first started. Like, hey, can I pick your brain? Yeah. Not seeing the value of their brain and not seeing all of the hard work that went into where they're at today. And then people started doing it to me. Once I started to be more seen on social media, people saw what my business came to and things like that. And I got the messages, can I pick your brain? And I didn't want to not respond because that's what people did to me. They just didn't respond. Like I could see they read it, didn't respond. But now I understand why. I wasn't respecting their knowledge of the industry. And I wasn't respecting that they did all of this work and got to where they are because they did the research and they did the work and they did the trainings and probably hired a coach and all of these other things. So instead of not responding, I said, absolutely, here's my consultation fee. And that's how it started. And the first person I charged $75. The second, or maybe not the second, but like the 10th person, I charged $125. And now my fees have gone up and up and up. And, you know, because I have more knowledge, I can charge more.
Yep.
You know, when you first start, same thing with your pricing as a business. You start lower because you don't have the expertise of the confidence of being able to charge what you feel that you're worth. And again, we're going to do a whole episode on that, but now I charge $175 and I feel like I can probably still go up from there, but I haven't established that business motto yet or my, you know, the plan for it, but I see the reward that people are getting from that. And I give my business away when I do my coaching calls, which I probably shouldn't do either, but I have found that I've helped so many people and the reward that I get from that is worth everything that I do.
And as you keep growing, the more you're going to have to share and the higher your price is going to go. So like with your second trailer, that's a whole different topic that you're able to give to somebody that's not a beginner, but somebody that was in the stage you were last year, you know? So that's huge too, is the more that you grow. Cause I don't know who's listening to this podcast, but there might be some people that are like 175, no way, you know, but you are worth that. You've been doing this for 2 to 3 years. Your experience keeps growing. You've made 6 figures a while ago. Like you are worth that. And the more that you keep at it and growing your business and you have more to share, the more valuable that will be and the price will go up. And that makes perfect sense to me. So don't anybody knock us in the comments to be like, oh, your prices are too high, because if that's what your price is worth and or what you think you're worth and what other people think you're worth, because people are booking you for that price. So that is what it's worth.
I heard something the other day in a podcast I was listening to, and this really like kind of spoke to me. They said that if you put $1,000 into yourself, you're going to make $1,000. If you put $10,000 into yourself, you're going to make $10,000. If you put $1 million into yourself and your business, you're going to make $1 million. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's so true.
Actually, I didn't think about that.
No. And when I first started, I hired a coach and it was the best money I've ever spent. And now I'm at another place where,
You blew my mind with that. I don't want to throw you off track, but that's, I want to get to what you're saying, but before we leave that station, that's so true. Because when I started doing video, just, little tangent, little example to what you just said, I had 2 camera bodies to begin with. One that I love and a backup, they were identical. I loved them both, but like a backup, that was the point. And then when I started doing video, I was like, oh, you know what? I probably should have 3 bodies, one on a tripod for the groom, one on a tripod for the bride during the ceremony, and then one for me to do like the ring exchange and the first kiss in the middle and like to walk around. And that camera was $2,500. That's the price of one wedding, like that, or 2, depending on how many hours and everything. But like that pays off. Like I'm going to put $2,500 back into the business to expand, paid off like that. You're so right.
And even with my second trailer, like it all said and done. And we didn't do it the best way this time, which is funny because it's my second. You would think I would have learned my lesson, but I tried to do some shortcuts. Not worth shortcuts in life. Like don't take shortcuts. We did things that were cheaper because we were like, let's not spend as much money, and they weren't as good as they should have been. So don't take shortcuts in life. Lesson learned. But I have probably made my money back already in the second trailer, and we've only done a few events. Wow. But that's what it is. You have to put money into your business to get money back. Yep. And that goes for self-development. And talking about growth, you need to grow yourself. And if you're not listening from experts, and I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, but I know what I'm doing right now in this business, and I can help someone who's just starting out. And I feel like that's what helped me in the beginning. And now I'm at a different stage where I want to hire someone who's at even a more what's the word I'm looking for? Expertise level than I am. And I feel like you have to do that in your business. You have to keep growing, but you have to grow yourself too. And if you're not getting knowledge, you're going to plateau. You're just going to be at the same stage because you're not learning from someone else.
I love what you just said about looking forward to somebody else that has more expertise than you too. That's a huge thing. So I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea by listening to this and being like, oh my God, they think that they're amazing. They think that they're the shit. But like,
we are. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
But we're happy with where we are. But that doesn't mean that we think that we're better than anybody else. No. It's just that we are further along than somebody getting started today. And so we have something to share with you, but that doesn't mean that we aren't also looking for other ways to grow, and we don't have role models either. Like there's still so many photographers that I look up to, and especially with the coaching thing, there's one photographer that I love that like a friend of mine really loves, and she's a part of her program, I guess, in a way. And one of the things that she does is like Instagram subscriptions. Have you heard about that?
I have, yeah.
She has that. So when you're following her, she does, you know, basic run of the mill, like tips and tricks and stuff. But then when you're a subscriber, you're able to watch her live stream as she edits. You're able to like really see more in depth to what she does than she would give away for free to the public. So
wait, what are your thoughts on doing, have you ever thought about doing the subscriptions?
I think you have to have a certain number of followers to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you have to have 10,000 followers to be able to offer subscription.
I don't know, because I think I have the option. I don't have 10,000.
To offer the subscribers or to subscribe to other people?
No, well, I can subscribe to other people, but I think I have the option. I don't know. Now I'm going in a rabbit hole because I don't know the answer to this.
Maybe I'm thinking, I could be thinking of a different platform, but I think
on Instagram, maybe.
Think so.
Maybe I don't then.
I don't know. Or maybe they changed it. Maybe it was 5 and then they just bumped it up or something.
Okay, maybe.
I don't know. I'm not well versed in that, but
I like thought about it because I think that's a great other
just
form
like
of
that.
income.
It's basically like doing the Zoom class that you were just talking about, except that's like a monthly thing. So that's something you would have to keep up instead of just like planning one course. Yeah. It's something that you'd have to put value into so that when people pay you monthly, like they feel it's justified. But it's the same idea. You know, if you're giving out that information and, you know, with photography, like I'm going to sit down and edit a gallery. Like I'm doing that all the time. Why don't I do that, you know, like once a month, once a week or whatever, to offer that to subscribers? Like that would be so cool.
I know. I see other ones that I like love and I'm like, oh, could I do that? Like, could I consider myself doing something like that? But I also think that you're right. You have to show value in that every single month.
Yeah,
and
that's tough.
I started a Facebook group and I can't even keep up with that. So I feel like it's hard. You know, back to my bounce house that I thought I was going to rent this summer. But I feel like you have to be passionate and because you don't want people, it's just like not posting on social media every day. Like people start to be like, oh, she doesn't post anymore. Like she doesn't care about her business. Not that I'm saying that, but I think it's a huge thing. Like if, you know, there's days where I haven't posted recently because I've just been so busy. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm letting people down. Not that anyone is like that, but I take pride in being able to post every day. And I think that that's something that I enjoy with my social media, and I get reward in being able to post every day.
I wish I could, but emotionally, just mentally, like I will be able to do that for like a week or two, and then I'll just like drop off a little bit. But that doesn't mean, you're right, that we aren't still working on other things and in love with our business. Like I haven't posted in a couple of days, but hey, we're doing the podcast this morning. Like I'm still doing things for the business and for other things to, you know, hopefully, like this is something else. This is a different way for us to expand. We didn't even talk about the podcast.
No, I know. Oh my goodness.
But like with the whole consultation thing we were just talking about, like this is the point of the podcast too, is for us to be able to share what we know and what we've learned in the past 2 to 3 years and be able to have it benefit somebody else. And this is for free. We're doing this for free just because we love you and we want everyone to help somebody. Like if this podcast was out and these, you know, we were 2 other people and, you know, we were watching this, like this would have been so valuable for us. And so maybe for us, something in the future is if we want to do, you know, the Zoom class or something, like maybe we do something together and we could do a Patreon with a subscription or something. And just have it be for general businesses, not for bars or for photographers, but just generally. That could be something cool. But anyway, the podcast, hopefully we can get subscriptions in the future if enough people watch. And then that's another way for us to support ourselves too with the knowledge that we have.
And just back to the podcast, you know, when we first started, I literally sent Megan a text message and I was like, would you ever consider a podcast? And she was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to do one? She was like, yeah. And that was it.
Yep.
Game over.
No. Yep. It was like the shortest conversation ever.
It literally was. Like, I don't know if we've ever even said, we probably didn't like the first episode, but literally I just like, I had a gut feeling. I was like, I think Megan and I would be a great partner in this. And I think that we could help other businesses. And I had no clue like really where this was going to go. And now we're like almost 13 episodes in and we just started.
But why not try?
We were consistent, and we, you know, if we don't record every week, we absolutely record every other week. And it's something that I feel like I get joy out of.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there's been multiple people that have asked, like, well, how do you do it all? I get that all the time. I'm sure you do too. Like, how do we do it all? But you prioritize certain things, and this was a priority for me. And there's weeks that I'm like, Meghan, I'm so sorry, I cannot do this week, and vice versa. And it's just like we figure out other ways, but it's a priority that we have episodes coming out bi-weekly. And knock on wood, we have stuck to that. So I think it's, you know, when you do want to grow your business, you have to stop before you do it and say, can I be consistent in this? And can I do this? Like, can I see myself growing in this area and really growing and doing it? Like, I've seen so many podcasts that, you know, I started listening to, and they're like 5 episodes in and then it stops, and I'm like, oh, bummer. And I, not that I have a negative feeling towards them, but I'm just like, okay, like maybe it just didn't work out for them or whatever it may be. But I feel like that's, I don't know, I just feel like if you're going to start something, you need to stick with it. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. What we talked about with the bouncy house, like, this shows that this is something that you're really passionate about and something that you really love, because to try something for your business and have it not come to fruition and be like, oh, that's okay, and let it go. But for something else like the podcast is something that was both for us, like, very important. Like, I'm passionate about this. The editing is really not that hard. Like, it's really not that difficult to put on a podcast, I have to say. I was very confused on how to upload it at first, so that there's a lot to learn. But I mean, we get together, once a week, once every other week. I sit down, I edit it. It takes like 2 hours, and then I'm working from home, like, from my computer anyway, so I just let it upload in the background. Like, we have like a policy with, I mean, maybe that's a tip, is like, try to come up with a policy if you want to do something and you're having trouble sticking to it. What days are you going to do it? How are you going to do XYZ? Like, come up with a plan for yourself. So we did that when we first started the podcast, was let's try to shoot every Monday. And then bi-weekly we'll upload them. That way, if we miss a week, we still have an episode to upload. So we saved our butts that way. And maybe the podcast you're talking about, you know, we're 5 episodes, then they dropped off. Maybe that's something that they didn't do beforehand, is figure out how they're going to shoot it and how often it's going to come out, because those are really important things to save yourself so that you can actually make it possible. So if we decided to do this weekly, we would have missed dates.
100%.
So we, you know, just got to think about it.
I think it's, back to Meghan's, what's the word when you start a business plan? Oh my gosh.
We basically
had a business plan for this, and, you know, we're doing this for free. We are not making money on this yet. But this is something that we saw an opportunity to expand our business. And I just had coffee with 2 amazing business owners, and one of them took like quotes from our podcast because she listened.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so heartwarming.
Wow.
And I talked to so many people who were like, oh yeah, I heard that on your podcast. And I'm like,
wow, that's so sweet. And I've made friends from the podcast from people that have been following you. One of my like good event, like, wedding friends, she was actually just on the podcast, Christina. She was on the last episode, but like, we've hung out a couple of times. We text each other, and now we're working together. She just started her own wedding planning business, and her first client for 2024 is like the first one that she had booked, which is very exciting. She'll probably have other weddings before then for her own business, but like, they're my clients. Like, it's just so crazy. She found me because of you and because of the podcast.
And I think that, wild. It's crazy. And you just never know when a business opportunity is going to come of something you're doing. And if you stay consistent with it, I mean, consistency is key. And that's like the motto that you have to live by in your business, because you have to just keep going. And if you don't, and it's like in anything, you just have to keep trucking along, trucking along.
Yep. And whole episode is about growth and how to make your business bigger, but it's not always about you either. Like, the podcast is something that's growing our businesses, but we're doing it for other people. And so that's the same with like the consultations and even the events that we're doing. Like, we're serving other people as we're doing that. So we love what we do, but it is a mutual exchange with everything that we're doing in our business. I feel like it's a mutual exchange. And one of the events that I've put on that you were talking about how there were some events that, you know, you wanted to go to but didn't exist and you created your own. That's something that I did and that I just did this past June with a partner, Jess. She's fantastic. We're probably going to make that an annual thing, and hopefully next spring will be our next one. But that was kind of that. Like I wanted to make a networking event for photographers because I don't think I'd seen one besides like styled shoots. But I wanted the purpose of this to be for photographers and have it be a mutual exchange, have people network, and have it not be a competition and whose photos are better. Like that's not the point. The point is to get headshots of yourself, meet other people, network, find second shooters, do your thing, yard sale to like swap gear. You know, if my equipment I don't want anymore, but it would help somebody else out. Like that's the whole point of the event. And so I'm doing that, you know, for myself, for Jess. Like it's something that will support our businesses, but you know, the ticket sales are going towards the event. It's not, you know, extra income for us. I mean, it will be, but this past one wasn't. That's not the point. You know, we aren't doing it to think, oh, what can we do for extra money? Our point was, we have a passion about something. How can we make this happen? How can we have the event pay for itself so that we're not losing money for our businesses with this, but for the future, it will be potential income and something that annually, you know, as it grows, maybe will be something. But as our experience grows with that and we have new ideas and each event is different, the value of it will be larger too. So, pricing episode will be huge. I'm excited for that.
It's going to be huge. But my brain just like spiraled in 5 different directions as you were just talking. But the first one is they say that you need 7 forms of like 7 streams of income.
Yeah.
And if you can do that in your business in ways that, and there's going to be flops. Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't think about that. I've heard that before, but I've just kind of considered that with like, oh, I'll do dog walking and oh, I'll do my business and oh, I'll do Uber Eats.
You're doing it.
7 ways to make an income within your business. That's huge.
But that too, but even if it's not in your business, like,
but that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But like, look at what the pandemic just brought us. However many years ago, which is crazy. It's been almost 4 years, which is wild. But I lost my job. I just had that one form of income. That was it. Then I started doing Beauty Counter, consulting for a skincare company. Then I started the mobile bar, and now I'm still doing Beauty Counter. I'm still doing the mobile bar. I'm doing other things. So like, if Beauty Counter didn't work out, I have the mobile bar. Vice versa. They say that you just never know when something's going to happen. Like my 9 to 5 was gone. Like luckily I was able to start something new. It was a blessing for me, but not everybody can do that.
Right.
Also, there's going to be things that flop that you're trying to grow your business and they just don't work out. Like I have a champagne wall that is the heaviest piece of equipment. It's like as heavy as my trailer, not really, but it feels like it is. Like I can't.
Well, it's tall.
It's tall and I can't lift it by myself,
yeah.
Which I found that just doesn't work because there's days that I get to the event before my other bartender and I can't lift it by myself out of the actual trailer. So I can't start setting anything up until I get it out of the trailer. So there's going to be things that may not always work in your business.
Yeah.
But you have to figure it, you have to almost do it to see that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then now I need to build a different champagne wall that's not as heavy. And there's other areas, but I rent that champagne wall out as another stream of income for the business.
Yep.
So it's, you know, there's going to be things that work and don't work, and that's okay.
Yep. And even with our regular jobs with our businesses, like thinking, oh, she's a mobile bartender, she books out events, she bartends. Same with me. Like, oh, she's a wedding photographer, she shoots weddings, that's what she does. Regardless of the other things that we're doing, the events, the consultations, whatever, like let that go in your head and think like, oh, she's a photographer and that's it. What if you run into a season where you don't have any inquiries? Like having other ways to make money with your business and have your business still be working on something. Otherwise, people are going to forget your name. If you're not in the space that you're in with other events and vendors and you're not booked out for whatever reason, you know, maybe that's something that you need to reevaluate and be like, oh, why aren't people reaching out? But that can happen and it might not totally be your fault. You know, sometimes we might run into seasons where that could happen. Knock on wood that won't happen, but like I'm in a bunch of photography Facebook groups and that's something that people struggle with. Well, they'll be reaching out for advice from other photographers and being like, hey, I just moved. How do I get, you know, people to find me? Or like, oh, I started my business 4 years ago, was great, consistently booking out. Now I'm in my 5th year, dead silence. So having those other streams of income within your business where, you know, now other photographers are paying me to do what I do, not just brides, or like the consultations, or, you know, whatever it's going to be, or the podcast, like other ways to make income just in case, like, you know, you never know what's going to happen. Like, this is I mean, people say this a lot about photography and about just art in general, but that it's, how do people say, I don't know how to phrase it. I forget like how it goes, but that, you know, it's not consistent income. And, you know, people like look down on photography to be like, oh, and so what's your real job, you know? So, you know, those days could happen where, you know, maybe one summer I get nothing. And, you know, 2024 is booking out. I have like one wedding a month or so right now, which is, you know, pretty good. People will still reach out in the winter months. So I'm not worried at all. This is about where I was last year. But like looking at it is a little bit daunting right now to be like, what if nobody else reaches out? Like, I know that they will, but it is kind of like in the back of my head, like, oh no, what if nobody finds me? But they will, but
they definitely will. But I think that is why you're successful, because you want to see yourself growing year over year. And this again goes back to my corporate background. We would always say like, we need to be doing better than last year. Yes. And we would always like refer to last year. And I do that in my business now. And like, obviously it's different because I now have 2 trailers. But for the most part, I'm still just booking one. And then the second is almost like the add-on at this time, because I obviously need 2 to be able to book 2. But I think if you're not seeing your business growing year over year, like, you need to reevaluate it. And, you know, and I always talk about this, you know, the first month of my business to this day is the most website views on my website. And it's because I was promoting it like wildfire. And I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm lucky that I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. Like, I was literally like pulling all-nighters, just like posting in Facebook groups and posting.
That's what you have to do though. And if you hadn't done that so much, you might not be here right now. Like that.
We talked about with Christina last episode, and it'll come out soon, but we talked about that right now she's in a season of growth, and she is, you know, working 2 other jobs on top of starting her business. And that's where I was when I started. I was working at a doctor's office. I was doing beauty counter. First I was working Hyatt full time, plus doing beauty counter, plus doing my business. Then I left my career, and I still didn't know if this was going to work out. So I started working at a doctor's office because I was like, I just need some form of income just in case. So I was working at a doctor's office. The days I wasn't working, I was full time with 2 toddlers, like 2 under 2, crazy. And then I was working beauty counter, and I was literally like not sleeping, but I was in a season of growth. And I think that if you are just starting your business, it's going to be a crazy season.
You need to be eager about it and passionate about it and go. Like, that needs to be your mentality getting started.
And if you're not, maybe that's not the best business for you, because that's the time that you need to literally like put your nails in the chalkboard and like go. Like, there's no other option, because if you don't do it then, you're never going to do it. You know? That's when you are the most excited. That's when you like have that feeling of like, you know, that gut wrenching feeling that you're like, this is what I was called to do. This is what I was made for. And I still have that feeling 3 years later, which is amazing, because I feel like with burnout and with, you know, stress and gray hairs now that I'm 35, I feel like there's so many other ways that I could have looked at this. Like, but I'm so blessed and lucky that I still am like, this is what I was called to do.
You have the drive.
Yeah, I do. And you can have that too if you just could, but I think it's because I found other ways to keep myself sane. Like, I think if I was just doing the mobile bar, like Devin and I doing these events.
Yes.
I'm getting a community together. I just had an amazing conversation. Actually, this is a great thing to talk about with growth. I had an amazing conversation with a florist who was with us last year. She's doing it again this year. And I'm possibly doing her branding relaunch party. Like, that was a connection I never would have gotten if I did not host that event, the big event. And so many other connections that I made from doing that. Which I feel like continues to fill my cup.
Niching down in your business doesn't put you in a box. It doesn't make you unable to do, you know, other things that you want to do. Niching down is going to better, you know, the main part of your business, but you can still do other things. And you've proved that. Like, you're a bartender, you mostly do weddings, like that is your niche, that is your thing, but that doesn't mean that you can't also do the big event, and you can't also do consultations. Like, you can still do other things you're passionate about, teaching people. Like, all of those are other passions that you have. You can still accomplish that and stay niched. Like, I'm a wedding photographer, but I can also, you know, do the portrait exchange, and that's for photographers, not for brides. But like, that doesn't mean that that goes against my business or against what I stand for. It's still related, just in a different way, which is why there's a different Instagram account for it, and why there's a different, you know, it's like a different platform, so that they don't mix too much. But if a photographer's following me, they're still able to see that part of my business, but it doesn't get in the way of my inquiry. So yeah, if you're going to expand and have it be a little bit out of the box and targeted towards somebody else, try to make it so that it's still easy for potential clients, for what your main thing is, to find you. And so the separate account that you just made for the big event, like, is huge, because you can promote that, you know, once in a while on the Vintage Horse, and people will see it and go to it if they're interested. But if not, you're not going to spam them with it. So I think that's huge.
And I love that you said that, because when I first started, and I think this was a little different, I had originally had this idea that I should make a separate, looking back, this was actually really stupid, but I should make a separate Instagram page for my second trailer, because I had this mindset that I was going to like rent that trailer just for like festivals, or rent it where someone can like just rent the trailer itself, like not have the whole concept of the business. And then I quickly reevaluated that people need a one-stop shop for something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas we have a separate Instagram for the podcast. We have a separate Instagram for the big event.
Yep.
And I think that that's important, to have different identities where people can still come find you.
Identity is the great word. Yeah. It's a great word for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they all are me at the end of the day, but I do the podcast with you.
Yep.
I do the big event with Devin. We can have a safe space together where we're both able to promote that business. Like, I'm not just promoting on the Vintage Horse. But I also think that you have to be careful, because I think that people could also misunderstand you going in so many different directions in your business.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've seen this lately where, you know, people have all these big ideas because you're an entrepreneur and your brain doesn't stop going in a million different directions, which I think is important, because you're an entrepreneur and you have that mindset. But I think you also have to allow people to understand that why you're going in these different directions.
It has to make sense.
Yeah.
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 And you can go one at a time. So your second trailer, like, that's totally unrelated from the big event, but you're doing them, even though right now you're doing them at the same time, but like, you know, or like content days, like you've done content days before, like you did that first, and then you were like, okay, this is going great. You know, the big event, that could be something similar but different. Let me do one thing first. So you know, figure out the content days, and then you figured out the big event, and now you're kind of thinking like, what's next? But you're doing them one at a time. And that's the same thing with me with like video. Like, I was like, oh, how do I expand my business? Like, consultations could be cool, but video could be cool, and the portrait exchange could be cool. So like, video I started last year, you know, put my all that way into seeing how that can grow. And now I'm like kind of level footed on that. And then the portrait exchange happened. It's like, okay, we're seeing how this is going to go. Let's reevaluate that next year, make that an annual thing. That's cool. So like, and then now I'm thinking about like, oh, maybe next year, this is a new idea for next year. So like, each year I feel like I've had something new sprout. Yeah. And it's not overwhelming, because I did them one at a time and they all make sense.
Yep.
So
I love that. And I think that that's a testament to why our businesses are successful right now, because we are constantly finding ways to grow them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to just be photography or videography or, you know, whatever. But I think that because we're growing, we are continuously getting more excited for our own personal experiences. That's what shows to our customers. And that's what shows, you know, I've had so many customers be like, what's this big event you're doing? And I explained it to them, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's awesome. But they're seeing me doing other things. Yep. So I feel like it's almost like also an exciting thing to them, because they're like, oh, I get to hire this awesome mobile bar, but she's doing so many cool things too. You know what I mean?
It's another reason for them to want to book you, because they see you doing your thing and how much you love it and how much you're passionate about it, that you're also doing these other things. And we talked about a little bit, you know, a few minutes ago, was that the big event, like, yes, that's income for you, but that's an experience for other people. You're doing something a little selfless with it. You're creating an opportunity for somebody else. Like, you're making a space for other vendors to become friends. Like that's something really that it's, priceless almost. So for people to see that you're doing that and be like, yeah, I made the right choice in booking her. Like, she's a great person, because you are a great person. And that's but like,
so are you.
It's not just a bridal expo where like people are competing. Like, this is not a space for people to compete. It's a space for people to become friends and like have it feel safe. And I don't know.
And I've heard this so many times, and especially on different like motivational podcasts, which is something I love to listen to. If you're in it for the money, you're not going to be successful. And I cannot, because yes, the money comes, but I think the money started coming more for me when I became so passionate about the reward of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important to remind yourself is it's not about money. It's about how you feel when you get the money. Yes, like obviously money is the root of all evil, but at the end of the day, like if the money leaves, I'm still going to enjoy doing this.
The expansion in your business, the growth in your business needs to happen first because you're passionate about it, not because you're looking for extra income. Extra income's great. Like the seven ways to make income with your business we just mentioned, like that's fantastic. That should be the goal. But like you can't just be doing something for money, or it will show. People will know, and 100%. You're not going to actually put effort into it, and you're going to try to get like the best deal out of people for things. Yeah. So the big event, the Portrait Exchange, is something I'm passionate about. It's an event that I would want to go to if somebody else was hosting it. So if it's something that I would pay money on to do, like, then I should do it. And if I could, change it and do it the other way around and have it become income for me, that's awesome, but that's not the point.
And I think you going into that, and that was totally Devin and I's experience going into the big events. Like it was not about us making money. It was about us collaborating with local businesses, getting the reward of just getting like-minded people in a room, which is what you did with your Portrait Exchange. And literally, we thought we were just going to do that one, and that was it. And we walked out that night, and we stayed a little bit later, just her and I, and one of our awesome Nutmeg Tent. He was literally like the backbone of that event too. Shout out to Adam. But it was the three of us, and we were just like looking at the event, first of all, how quickly everyone cleaned up. It was like magic. I'm not even kidding. I think it was a half hour, and the entire
it looked like
space was like done. I was like, wow, these are vendors.
Yeah, right.
But the reward that we got, we just sat there. We were like, wow, like we need to do this again. And it was not about the money. It was about the satisfaction of people coming up to us and being like, this was the best event I've attended. Like, that's what it's about. Yeah. And even at events, like someone coming up to the trailer and being like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And your work, like a bride being like, these are the best photos I've ever seen. Like, thank you. Yep. Like, that's what it's about.
I recently had a wedding this past June where we were on to the dance party. Like, the whole day had gone by at this point. And I was walking around taking pictures of people dancing and just like on the dance floor with the DJ, all of that. And I was, scanning the room, and sometimes I go through the seats, like through all the tables and stuff, and see like, if grandma's still around and who's sitting down. I like to take pictures of people doing that too, not just on the dance floor. And I passed by the father of the bride, and he was just sitting there, like his tie was all messed up, and he was just casually like hanging out with his drink, and he was just sitting there by himself, but he looked so happy. He had like the biggest smile on his face just watching his daughter dance. And I was like, I have to take a picture of him. So I was just walking by him, and I took a really quick picture and like gave him a smile and kept going, which is what I usually do. I don't usually like ask permission because they booked me to be there, so I just do it. And he looked so happy that I was like, oh, he's going to be fine if I take his picture. So I did. And I kept walking around the room, and he came up after me. He like came up behind me, like ran up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, I just want to say that you're doing an amazing job, and I can tell that you love what you do, and you've got the best smile on your face. So keep up with this. Like I can tell how much it means to you and how much you love it. He's like, I'm so glad that my daughter found you because you're the best. Like I can tell that you love what you're doing.
I'm gonna cry.
I know. And I was like, okay, thank you. And he was just like, I'm so glad you're here, and like thank you so much. And
oh my God,
then like a week later, I send the sneak peeks in a week, and as soon as I sent them, maybe like a day or two went by, and I was checking my Facebook, and he left a review on my Facebook. That was basically everything he told me in person, was just that, oh, my daughter booked Meghan, and like, you need to book her just because she's so happy and she loves what she's doing, and you can tell, like, just being in the room with her, you just know. I was like, oh my God, stop it. So anyway, that's the reason why I do what I do and why I love this, is because like the feedback you got on the event from other vendors and from the general public, like my mom had so much to say about it. My mom had an amazing time, and if she didn't tell you, she definitely told all of her friends and put it on Instagram and everything. So, but like that, the feedback is the reason why we do something. And the feedback you got on the big event was huge. The feedback I got on the portrait exchange was huge. Like, that's the reason why you do it. If you're doing something and you're expanding and you're getting good feedback on it, and people are saying you're making a difference with this, you know that you're on the right track. And it is about the money, because it's work at the end of the day, but
it's our livelihood.
You need to have that drive and passion to actually want to do something, because you're making a difference for somebody else. You're not doing it for yourself. Like, I'm not a wedding photographer for myself. I'm a photographer for the couple, because I want to support them and I want to make other people happy. And if I'm able to do something for somebody else, like, I'm going to do it. So that's the whole point. And quick little story about that guy, because he made like my summer. Like, not my day, not my week. He like made my life right there. Oh my God. It was so sweet.
That's amazing.
So sweet.
You literally hit the nail on the head. We're here to make a difference. And I feel like if you continue to tell yourself that's the reason that you're doing your business, you're going to continue to be fulfilled and rewarded. And the hard days are going to make it so much more worth it because of those moments like that. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so happy you shared that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're going to conclude on that, because I'm going to go cry.
Okay.
But we today decided that we are going to do, our next episode. I think we should do it because it's kind of fresh in our brain, on pricing and why you feel that your value is worth what your prices are. I don't know if we'll go like fully into detail of like what our prices are, but I think it's just more going to be like
how to settle on a price yourself, because everybody's different, and what everybody puts into their business is different. But just things about what to take into consideration when you're creating your prices, and what you think your value is worth.
I love that.
That'll be great.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Cheers.